What's going on, YouTube? Q back here again with another video for you. Today's video, I'm about to talk about these 10-ish cars that badly needed a manual. And unfortunately, some of these are going out of production. That's just the way things are nowadays. Manual take rates have decreased, so a lot of people aren't buying them, so manufacturers don't make them anymore. Some cars I disagree with, and some of these cars are on this list, so that's what we're about to get into today. Look at this Michigan Freedom right behind me. We got the trees blossoming. Isn't it amazing? Shout out to the men of culture. We got Race Car Friends, 100 Gang Nate, Blueprint 1LE. Lost my phone right there. But the trees blooming is horrible for me at times with all of my allergies that I got. Not good times, but today they're in check. So I think the weather's finally breaking. So finally hit the 60s again after we hit the 80s a couple months ago. But let me get into this list. And the number one car I'm about to put on this list, and this is not in any particular order, I just brainstormed this list, and there's probably like 30 cars that belong on this list, but these are the 10 that came to mind. So number one is the Alfa Romeo Giulia, especially the Quadrifoglio. Am I saying that right? I don't know how it's pronounced, but that car, 505 horsepower, Ferrari-derived engine, rear-wheel drive, and it's like, well, not this car, but like an M3 size, so that luxury sports sedan, it is right in there, and it's packed in that class with the RS5 Sportback, and we got the Mercedes C63. It will be also the Cadillac CT4V Blackwing. All of those cars fit there, and that car has a manual in other locations, but in the States, we did not get that. So shame on you, Stellantis, for not bringing that here. And that car, I see a few of them around here, but I don't know, they don't sell that well because it's a Alpha. They recently came back to the States, but man, that car sounds pretty good for a V6. And then, like I said, it's Ferrari derived, man. It's like half a Ferrari engine, something like that. So the number two car on this list, and I really believe I would have gotten that car at some point if they did offer a manual, but I got its twin, the Dodge Charger. Thing never came with a manual in the latest iterations of it. The modern Challenger, or the modern Charger, doesn't have it. The Challenger does. They never built the Charger to have a manual in it, and I think that is the perfect car, especially for me, because with a family, a one-car solution, I would definitely a Charger. I would get that, but I did go with the Challenger because that did have a manual. But the Charger, a roomy, a large sedan with a manual, that would have been perfect. And they got all kinds of flavors, because the Challenger, you can get the manual on the RT, the Scat Packs, the Hellcats, not the Red Eyes, but that's enough. I would have been happy with any one of them in the manual, but unfortunately Chrysler didn't give that to us, so shame on you, Chrysler, but thank you for giving us a Challenger. But that car really should have had a manual. The third car on this list is the Nissan GTR. I don't know a whole lot about the GTR, never driven one. I always liked them, especially like the R34s, like the stuff I played on Need for Speed. But this new one, I just found out the thing had back seats. I probably would have gotten a GTR at some point when I wasn't super into manuals. But that car, how much horsepower does that thing have? Like 540 or something of that nature? All-wheel drive. That would have been the perfect car for all-wheel drive, or not all-wheel drive, the manual. They do have all-wheel drive, so that makes it even more desirable, because you can't get a whole lot of cars with all-wheel drive with the manual. No shout out to Subaru, just kidding. This GTR, like the older versions, had the manuals. The new one, they're all about the numbers, because when the GTR first hit the scene in like 2008, they were just embarrassing supercars. They were right there performance wise, and to do that they need the transmission that they did give. So it was like 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds, and like 10, 12, 13 years ago, that was mighty impressive when the GTR first hit the scene. So that was dumb fast, and the manual would have slowed it down, obviously, because these other transmissions can shift much faster, and that's the reason why a lot of cars, I believe, don't offer the manual, because these stat sheets, like a lot of people care about the stat sheets, and the manual kind of makes that bad. Like especially with the Porsches and the PDK versus the manuals. The PDK on a Porsche will, like a regular Porsche 911, will put it in like 3 seconds 0 to 60, but when you add the manual, it's like a whole second slower, something like that. The number 4 car on this list And this car has been in a lot of my videos, but I never drove one. You always see them at City of Cars. I've probably seen 20 at City of Cars. And this is the Chevrolet C8 Corvette. Corvettes have high manual take rates. It's not like 50%, but it's higher than, like, I think it's higher than the Camaros and Mustangs. It's like, I believe the last time I checked it was 14. I could be way off, but I still think 14% is decent enough to make it for a car. That's reason enough to build it. But with this new one, performance numbers, the performance, they got the DCT in there, and like I said, you don't want to hamper your performance numbers, so the C8 Corvette does 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. I think the base is like 2.9 seconds, maybe even 2.8 seconds, depending on if you get the performance pack or not. But it's another car, and I would love to drive that car in the manual, but with the DCT, I still haven't done a review on it. Like, I see them, but it just doesn't really do it for me. Like, I'll do one at some point, but it's not the first car that I reach for when I want to do a review due to the lack of the manual. So the number 5 car on this list, and this is a car that had a manual in previous iterations, but this modern one just does not have one. And I recently did a review on it, the Acura TLX. So like I said, like these manual all-wheel drive cars, I'll be all over those. That's why Subaru sits so high on my list. And they sent me an email today too saying they're knocking the price down $2,000 off MSRP on a limited WRX. But the TLX, that is right up my alley. A luxury sports sedan with the manual transmission, SH all-wheel drive, the super handling all-wheel drive. That is a really good system. And I came so close to buying the older TL, like a 2012 TL with the manual all-wheel drive. But like I said, I mentioned in another video, the pre-purchase inspection came back bad. So I walked away from that car. But that car should have a manual. Honda makes very good manuals, and the driving dynamics are so good on Hondas, especially if I would have had the all-wheel drive on that car. But they don't have that right now. But it's still a great handling car. Like, check out that review if you haven't. But a manual would be the way to go. And I honestly would pick that over the Integra. Even the Integra Type S. I would go with the TLX Type S with the manual over the Integra Type S. That's right up my alley. Number 6 car on this list is the Audi RS3. So the Audi A5 was my dream car. And then I saw that they had a Sportback in the European countries when we didn't have that here. Now we have it here. And they took away the manual. So the Audi A5, I would probably get an S5 or an RS5 if they had that with the manual. But they don't have that here. So the next best thing would be an RS3. Like, since cars have grown so much, the RS3 is a really good sized car. And that thing has an inline 5. It's like 400 horsepower, probably a little bit more than that. Spit on my dash up here, but it's okay, my germs. And that car would be so good. And all-wheel drive. Y'all notice the trend here. I like all-wheel drive manual sedans, but that car would be fire, and people modify those things like the crap out of them. They're beating some huge, like some Lamborghini type cars at the track, like at the drag strip with the tune. Like, those inline 5s can do so much, but that is like a perfect car for me. It's not too big. It's really good to maneuver. 5 cylinders. That thing it has a unique sound to it. And I think that's just a good car. It's not priced outrageously either. It's a decent price for the performance that you get. So you can't get a manual in there. And that sucks, man. But you can get one in the Golf R. And that's another car that I really wanted. But due to the markups and availability, I couldn't even get my hat in the ring for one. Like, I would still be on the waiting list to this day. So I'm going to lump 2 in this one, or number 7. That's the Kia Stinger and the Genesis G70. I say this a lot in my videos. Like, I considered buying such and such. Like, I consider buying pretty much every car. But I considered buying the Genesis G70 when they came with the manual before the mid-cycle refresh where they updated the headlights. And then the Kia GT, that's a car that I considered without a manual. But that's why I went to the G7. Like, the G70, they have a manual in that. But that car, I'm trying to do a review on those. I'm going to do a review on the Kia Stinger because it went out of production. But that car, they say it's really fun. Now, it has a recipe. Like, it's a liftback. It's a sedan with the liftback. But it does not have the manual. And it's got the 3.3 liter turbocharged powertrain, so it makes some decent horsepower. It's like 380, somewhere in the high 300s. So I think that would be a blast to drive, and it's a larger car, so it can be like a one-car solution. But they didn't put the manual in that thing, which I would have been all over that. Could have got a discount on that too, man. So I got another Italian car on my list, the Alfa 4C. So this is a sports car, just a two-seater, very small car. It's like a Porsche Cayman fighter, very small, harsh, lots of character. That thing makes a lot of noise, lots of pops. And it's like a quarter of a Ferrari engine with the 4-cylinder, turbo 4. And that thing, they say it's really good to drive, but you got the reliability. But that thing needs a manual too. Like, I don't even know a lot about Alfa's history, because when I was born, I don't even know if they were sold here. Born in the 80s, I'm an 80s baby. They weren't sold here. So Alfas are like new things to me. Like, I really don't see them. But since I'm in the Metro Detroit area, not too far away from formerly known as FCA, Chrysler, Stellantis, they got a lot under their umbrella, and Alfa is one of them, as well as Fiat. Ferrari is kind of in there, kind of not in there, but all the same thing, Maserati. The 4C deserved one, and that was a nice sports car. It's kind of like a Miata. Like, those mainly are sold with the manuals, and there's a lot of other cars like that, like the BRZ, like those very small, tiny cars. The 4C would have been one of them. Got a ton of character, but the wrong transmission. Number 9 car on this list, and I'll share its sibling with it, but this is my dream car, the Audi R8, the second generation. So my dream car does have the manual. Got to get that one day. But the second generation of the R8 that only came with the V10, you cannot get the manual on there. And its cousin, the Lamborghini Huracan. So Lamborghinis used to have manuals, the gated manuals, highly sought after, and those things. I see, like the Gallardo, you can still get one of those. That's what the Huracan was before the Gallardo. You can get a gated manual in that car, and the prices of those are going up. The R8s are like at the bottom of the market, and the Gallardo's like bottomed out too, but I'm pretty sure they're going up now. I haven't checked in a little bit. I did check on the R8s though, but the Huracans Huracan, how you pronounce that? But you cannot get a manual on those. I heard there's a company that's doing manual swaps on those, but I gotta get the car before I can consider that, and it's gonna cost a substantial amount of money. But that car, naturally aspirated V10, that would be a hoot to roll through the gears in, but we cannot get a manual on those because we're chasing performance figures, in my honest, humble opinion. That's why I'm looking at the first gen, and buying an old car is scary, especially when it's exotic. So Audi R8. And number 10 on this list is 3 cars in one. It's literally the whole brand. So that is Lexus. So I used to always want a Lexus GSF. That was one car that I would have got without the manual. I thought about it strongly, and then they killed the production of it. Last time I checked, they were $40K, and that's a lot of car for the money. Got the 5-liter naturally aspirated V8, and it revs pretty high. Sounds pretty good, and it's shared with the RCF and the LC500. But none of those cars have a manual. And the RCF is a competitor to like the M3, so it's the coupe. And they do have the ISF. Oh my God, not the ISF, the IS500. That's another car for Lexus. I forgot. I really like those cars. Look-wise, it's got the V8, but it's not an F car. But they do have that big V8 up in there, but no manual. They just keep putting these 8-speeds in there. And that, like, Lexus would be the car to keep long-term with the manual in it. So the last Lexus, and I was on the list looking for those, and I tried to buy one, but the person on Facebook Marketplace changed their mind, like, you know what, I'm not going to sell it. I looked at IS300s, and I even went as far as to getting the IS250, and even though the 350 made a lot more horsepower and it was way faster, and the V6 and the IS250 was really weak, the IS250 had the manual and the 350 didn't, and I would rather go that way. That thing had heated and cooled seats. Shout out to the heated and cooled seats. But yeah, Lexus, I believe they dropped the ball. Toyota, they're putting manuals in a lot of things. Shout out to them putting it in the new Tacoma that's coming out, but that's not my cup of tea. Toyota is making a lot of good cars though. The GR86, the Supra, and the GR Corolla, like they're putting the manuals in. Like, they just don't care. They're saying F the EPA. Lexus, I got a lot of respect for them, but I need that manual for me to be able to plop down my cash on one. I just gotta have the manual for now at least. So that's my list of 10. There's a ton of other cars out there, but this is just an initial. I could probably come up with 50 cars like I said, but those are the first ones that came to my mind. Let me know what you think would be a car that really needed the manual, even if it's in or out of production. If you want me to talk about another topic like this, drop a comment, let me know what you want me to talk about, and I'll share a piece of my mind with you. I'm going to end the video on that note. Check out the channel, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace out.